All right, welcome back for episode number 27 of Before the Trainwreck, the series where my clinical psychologist academic friend joins me as we help guys unscrew their lives, or at least try to avoid potential train wrecks. How you doing, Shawn?
Good. I'm doing good. I heard you had a good week.
Had an incredible week. We took off last week. If you guys didn't notice, those of you that might be newer to the channel, I did a 3,000 kilometer rally across the states. We started in Toronto, went Toronto, Detroit, Cincinnati, Nashville, St. Louis, Chicago, and then I hopped on a plane and I flew back and I shipped the car back. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. It was crazy.
So when you ship an R8, is that FedEx? Is that US Mail? What do you do?
I honestly, the place that we were going to meet the guy to ship the car, I thought it was going to be one of those open wheel trailers you see them deliver cars at dealerships at, where they're kind of stacked with all the vinyl on it sort of thing. But it was a closed trailer, so I drove right by it. It's one of those like Knight Rider trailers. Remember that from like the Knight Rider days where Kit would kind of drive into the back sort of thing? I'm really dating myself now, of course.
Did you have to drive into it while it was moving? Like
no, I just got out of the car. Like literally, I did throw him the keys. I'd sign something and get on an Uber to get to the airport. I didn't even have time to do anything. But yeah, they take care of everything for you. They just ship the car back and you pick it up at the yard. But it was a fun experience, man. There was 85 cars registered, 159 people. If you follow me on Instagram, that's where I did all the posts. So if you guys want to see them, go there. There's a bunch of pictures, there's some videos and stuff, and some highlight reels that I shared. It was incredible fun. I mean, if you have, I always say, if you find yourself in rooms where you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? So I always try to put myself in an environment where I'm not the smartest guy in the room. And yeah, an R8's a nice car, and some people might say, well, that's a very expensive car and I'll never be able to afford one of those things. But there was guys there with like $750,000, $800,000 cars, right? And they've got some interesting stories to tell, right? It takes a lot to, well, it doesn't take as much as you think to get there, but it takes work. It takes doing the work to get there, which is pretty cool.
So this is what intrigued me. You had a Twitter post earlier this week. I guess we call those tweets, correct? And it intrigued me because you were talking about some of the guys that you were hanging with. And so I was really curious about who these guys are, what you learn from them, what did they talk about in terms of life lessons and so forth?
Most of it was a lot of car talk. It was a lot of, we're just complete petrol heads. Let's see how fast we can go. Let's see how many times we can dodge the police. Like we had 5 layers of security, as we were driving with radar scanners and laser jammers and all sorts of stuff, handheld radios and everything. But like the conversations in the evening about, so what are the cars have you driven? Where do you live sort of thing? What do you do for a living? That's when you start kind of peeling back the layers and you start to hear them tell you stories about how they got to where they got to and the struggles and the things that they came up against. And I mean, like a lot of the times it has to do with some really bad choices that they make in their lives when it comes to the sexual marketplace, when it comes to the women that they choose to bring in your life. I mean, let's do the quick pitch, for your book, because we always got to mention this on every single broadcast. I mean, your summary in the back of the book is, something along the lines, and I can't remember if it's on the front cover or on the back somewhere, but it's like, the right woman can really improve your life and the wrong one can really, throw it for a tailspin. And some of these guys made some really bad choices when it came to money, when it came to the women they brought into their lives and the value that they brought. They didn't assess it. They didn't see the impending train wreck coming that we often talk about on these series. I mean, we've done 27 of them now.
Yeah, and I was curious because when you meet somebody who's pretty high achiever, usually they've had to burn it down and start over at least a couple of times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's a few raise it right down to the ground, like burn it right to the ground and restart. I mean, there's a few of those stories, at least in everybody's life. And they've gone from hero to zero, back up to hero again. And you wouldn't know it, because they pull up in a brand new $500,000 McLaren 720S Spider, right? It's a gorgeous car. I mean, my R8's fast. It's got 600 horsepower, but it can't hold a candle to one of these things on the highway. Like it makes my car look like a Prius.
Yeah, so we'll be taking calls here in a minute, but I wanted to what were the hardest lessons? Like did guys loosen up a little bit and talk about some of the hard lessons they learned in life?
Yeah. A lot of burns when it came to who they chose to let into their inner circle with business partners and women. And business partners are people that they often thought were their friends, or they were even might have been long-term friends with them. But as soon as money can potentially trump the friendship, or the ROI of the money can trump the friendship in a way that's the cost benefit analysis to them makes sense to burn their friend. It happens to guys a lot. And, the difference with women is they don't really look at it from that perspective. It's just everything that has to do with family law, with cohabitation. It just works out in their favor. And there was one guy in the rally that bought a house with his girlfriend. She was older than him, single mom, bunch of kids. And it's like, he can't even get the house sold. He can't get on the market. He had the locks changed, or she had the locks changed on the house on him. I mean, there's a lot of, stories that you get out of these conversations when you're eating and you're drinking, you're having a laugh at nighttime when you're off the road. But it's like, a lot of this stuff guys could really avoid if they spent some time thinking. Like, if they put half the amount of time that they do into vetting their next supercar into a relationship, they'd be far, far better off. Really. It's that simple.
Yeah, you had one guy on there that apparently had on your Instagram or Twitter feed where he had apparently done very well, and he was an asbestos lawyer.
Oh yeah, we got invited to a private residence in St. Louis that was owned by an asbestos lawyer. So he opened up his property to the public. So this is publicly known. This isn't private or anything like that. And there was probably at least 300 people on his property, easily 150 cars. From visitors, plus he had another 50 cars in his own private collection, which he had parked everywhere. Like, he probably had about $25 to $30 million worth of supercars, exotics, just peppered everywhere. And the keys to his house were just open. He goes, yeah, just go in and have a look around. So everybody's just kind of walking in his house and just checking out, the bedrooms, the kitchen, everything like that. And asbestos lawyers do very well. I mean, if they know what they're doing and they've got a good practice, you can make a ton of money. I always say, professions that'll make you a ton of money will be C-level jobs when you're running high-level organizations, and professional jobs, things like accountants, tax accountants, tax lawyers, lawyers and, partners in law firms, things like that. Like, even those higher end professional designations, when you hear some of these guys are making $500, $600, $700 an hour, they're not the ones that are living in $13 million residences with full stone brick surfaces on the outside and slate roof tiles with $30 million worth of Ferraris. These are like partners in law firms that are doing multi-million, like tens, hundreds of $1 million deals and lawsuits with these firms to basically liquidate, funds for damages.
Right.
Just in quotations for those of you that are listening on the podcast.
Hey, mesothelioma is real, buddy.
It is.
Yeah, this is what I hear.
We've got some callers in line. Do you want to keep rapping about the rally, man? I could do it all night. If you want to start taking
one more question. Were there any main takeaways you got from these guys?
Do the work. Just, you know what? A lot of these guys, they're no different than you and I or anybody else that calls in. And, I put on Instagram earlier today, I said something like, I don't know, there's a post, something along the lines about updating your beliefs. And there was a number of guys that commented on that post, like, yeah, but how do you update your beliefs? I don't know where to start. Dude, just start. I mean, you can find the answers. There's books everywhere. I've got shelves of books over here in the other room. There's answers online. I've got a deep video in my men's community that I talked about how to update your belief system. Updating your belief system is very simple. You just unplug what doesn't work for you. Like, when you update your software on your phone, for example, you're just doing a software update and you go to version 3.017. Well, if 3.017 sucks and it doesn't work for you, you're getting crappy results out of it, go to 3.018. And that new belief system, that new operating system will get you better results. It's just you doing the work, you recognizing that you have to do the work on yourself to believe new things that will get you better results. And then just go out and do them, man. These guys are no different than you and I. They're really, really good people. They're really good people that are so generous, with their time. Man, there was kids, like, we would go to lunch, and this was the best part. Like, you'd go to lunch and you have all these supercars, and there was kids that would come out and be like, they're freaking out and all this sort of shit. And it's like, some guy with a brand new car would be like, yeah, sit it and start it up and rev it up and see how you like it. And he's like the big shit-eating grin on his face. Like, you made his day, right? Like, these are really good people.
I have this optimistic belief that you don't really do well in life unless you're doing good in life, and you do good on a big scale and big things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And as far as doing the work, a lot of guys get people get hung up on, well, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to make this thing work. Just do it. You don't know how to make a YouTube video, just do it. You don't know how to start a business, just get it rolling. Whatever it is you want to do, just start doing it. You'll figure it out.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You just start doing it, right? I mean, you figure it out. I mean, I press the same upload button that Casey Neistat does. It's there. It's the same button. You and I press the same button, Shawn. You know, whenever we upload a video,
yours is higher quality than his.
Just do it though, right? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's go to these callers because we got some guys queuing up in the line. The guest call-in line is 323-642-1618. Again, friendly reminder, guys, the show's before the train wreck. Shawn and I got together at an event, and one of the things that we really wanted to do was to put a dent in the universe for guys out there that are making really bad choices. Quite often, they're coming to us after they've made a train wreck out of their lives, and they want us to create a time machine and send them back to a time where they can go and fix those things. What we're trying to do with this show, again, so when you're calling in, this isn't the how do we get girls show or anything like that. This is the I got my spidey senses tingling, Rich and Shawn, and this is a scenario. What can I do better to maybe vet this scenario so I don't end up in a potential train wreck? It doesn't necessarily have to be around women. You want to talk about business or money, we can explore a few other rabbit holes too, but it seems to be like most guys are orbiting around the notion of, well, this is what I'm doing with my soon-to-be ex or my ex-girlfriend. What do you guys think? What do you think, Shawn? What do you think, Rich? And we'll kind of dive into that. So let's hop over to calls. Let's go with Exchange 690. I'm going to throw you on the air, 690. All right, you're on the air. Going once, going twice.
Hello?
Yes. Hi.
Hello? How's it going, Richard?
Good. Just turn down the volume on whatever you got running in the background in case you're getting feedback somewhere else. There's always that bit of a delay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, you got a question for us?
So I had a question about coaching. Because we're talking about high excellence and stuff like that. And I've been thinking about getting coaching with you. But it's I've also got things in my life that I'm actively working on. The big thing that I'm kind of working on right now is building a tribe of men and just people in general that are around me that I really like and respect.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also wondering, should I just get the work done of what I know I need to do and then wait for coaching? Or should I have coaching kind of in the process of doing that? You kind of know what I mean?
No, and I'm not clear on the question. So I think that I would start there. I mean, if you're going to present your idea to somebody, you want to make sure that it makes sense within 3 floors going up an elevator. I always call it the elevator pitch, right? You got 3 or 4 floors to broadcast your idea. So take it from the top again, distill it. What is it that you're trying to do? What problem are you trying to solve?
So I'm basically just trying to build a badass life, basically striving for excellence, making a life that I enjoy, that I love living.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of realized going through the Striver goal setting program, that the biggest part that I was missing was kind of the community. It's I scored a 2 to 10 on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm oh, fuck, it would really help if I basically improved, if this improved, it would improve my dating and then it would improve my friendships. It's okay, I need to build this community around me. So it's kind of inflowing for my social life.
Okay. Are you in my men's community, by the way?
Yep.
Okay. There is a join link there. Use that next time because that's the best way to get in the front of the line. But first of all, I mean, I'm still not clear on what it is that you're trying to solve. You want to build a badass life and a community of men. What is the purpose of that? What is the mission?
Well, I really like having high openness conversations. I like talking about ideas. I like people around me who like to talk about ideas. And I like to have people who are actually doing stuff in their lives. They're actually leaders and they're taking control. And so it's that's what I'm actively working and doing. And kind of one of the end goals is I'd like to build a side income from doing coaching. Cause I think my number one strength is basically taking high performers and taking them to the next level. And basically just doing that through strategic forethought for planning the future and what kind of marketing they need to do and how do they need to change their sales process.
How many times have you done that? Do you have a proven track record of success?
What? Go ahead.
How many times have you done that? Do you have a proven track record of success? Do you have raving fans behind you?
Yep.
Good.
And so it's with my mom, I recently it's actually I wrote her an ad for a rub and tug massage. And so she does that. And she basically went from Costco making $11 an hour, part-time, and she's just going to be this financial train wreck that I was going to have to solve. Now she makes like $300 or $350 per client for 2-hour session, and she's booked for about 2 to 3 clients per day wherever she wants to go.
I'm not
You
sure.
said rub and tug massage. Is that what it sounds like?
Can you just repeat that?
You said rub and tug massage. Is that what it sounds like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As in happy ending.
Exactly.
So you wrote a business plan for your mom to do rub and tug massages.
I wrote an ad for her because she had already decided to do it on her own. And basically, like, she had just like a terrible ad that was just like, it was god awful. And I kind of like have some basic copywriting experience. And so I wrote the ad for her because she's really good at it. She's been like into energy work and healing, and she's really sensual and like a very good toucher. And she gives like amazing massages, and it's kind of like, it's like her kind of niche in the world. That's been amazing.
All
and
right.
so that's,
I'm going to let that call go because that sounds like a lot of BS to me. What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, pimping out his mom doesn't. I was a little skeptical of that.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like, first of all, I post a join link in my men's community to join live here on the Hangout if you're in the community. And this dude is not in my space. I'm not having conversations about pimping out your mom to rub and tugs, guys. Smarten up. All right, we got another caller here on the line. Anonymous, jump on. What's up? Anonymous, jump on. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. If you guys are going to call in with a block line, it's going to show up as anonymous. So when I say anonymous, you say, hey, Rich, what's going on? Let's try exchange 689. Okay. 689, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hey, what's up? Yeah,
Good.
this is Dex.
You have a question?
Yeah. So yeah, I basically moved from London I've been traveling for a while, and hanging out now in America for a bit. But I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
And so I've made a lot of books in the past, and it's all a learning curve. But essentially, I'm working quite a lot of hours now, and if I was to go full hog on it, I could probably, in maybe 6 months from now, make maybe 5K in savings. But the thing is, it's not very motivating to go that path. So in the past, I've done assets and books, and I was learning the craft and made mistakes here and there. And I was wondering if maybe a pattern that is not good is that maybe I should focus more on 9 to 5, even if it's soul draining, save money, and then when I have the money saved up,
how old are you?
Use that to invest in books.
How old
31.
are you? You're 21, sorry?
31.
31. And you're living, and you're traveling North America, or do you have like a work visa here? Turn down the volume
I
on
have a tourist visa, so got about another 2 months left over.
Okay, do me a favor, turn down the volume on the broadcast in the background because you're getting some feedback and I'm hearing it. So you got a couple more months on the work visa. And what's the purpose? Like, if I have a magic wand that I can wave here to solve your problem, what does that look like for you?
Here's what I'm looking to do. The path I've created is this. I'm gonna basically work, and so I have enough money I can keep traveling. I was 6 months in Colombia before here. Keep traveling. Maybe I have £200 saved up, but nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
And basically pour my energy into creating. I have about maybe 7, 8 different books that are completely outlined. Some cases they're almost fully written. Keep writing them so I have the assets at the end of maybe 2 years from now. And then
what are the books on?
I just much prefer to. Sorry?
What are the books on? What are you writing on?
These are red pill fiction stories.
Red pill fiction. And how do those sell?
Well, when I started releasing them, I was learning the process of advertisement and marketing. So I would get like a couple of 1,000 page reads on Kindle, and then kind of made mistakes here and there. So I kind of took them off. A few of them are still online.
Where do you?
No, it's not.
Where do you market them to?
Do
you have an audience somewhere? Do you have an email list? Do you create YouTube videos? Do you have like a blog? Like, who do you market your books to?
Yeah, I think I messaged you once actually a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
I had a channel, it's actually still up, where I was analyzing movies from a red pill perspective.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I just, yeah. I just had to focus because I was traveling. I had to get all my money together to maintain traveling. So now I have a bit of a window open.
Okay. Well, this doesn't sound like much of a before the train wreck thing, but I mean, what you're asking is, how do I sell these books? How do I put them in front of the audience?
No, the question is more, is it wise to focus on assets before you have a solid income from your 9 to 5?
Attention
So
is
I'm a
everything.
freelancer, but you might as well call it 9 to 5.
Attention, 100%. It's always attention. Attention is what you need to sell what it is that you got. So if you have nobody's attention,
right,
there's no point in creating any sort of content. So, you know, these Insta thoughts that go on and they sell like energy drink teas and things like that. The reason why they're selling them is because they have an audience of people buying their stuff. You know, there was a gamer girl on the other week that's selling her bath water. The only reason why people are buying the crap that she's selling is because she has an audience of fans that watch her gamer stuff on Twitch or whatever it is that she broadcasts on. So, my view on it is always about having the attention of someone. That being said, I mean, you can still write great content, but not have the attention of very many people. It's not going to go very far. You're not going to sell it, right?
I'm thinking the kind of Robert Greene mastery token kind of route, where you create something that cannot be replicated and that is very, very high quality. You know, that you basically hit a zeitgeist in a way of speaking, or you speak to an audience that is clearly there.
Right. So
right now you can't find any red pill content in terms of stories.
Yeah, skip the whole red pill content, whatever content it is that you want to write or whatever it is that you want to create. You have to have the attention of people. If you're going to sell them something, you have to have the attention of people. You have to have an audience, have a YouTube channel, have an email list, have a blog that you're writing, have a customer list, something, right? Shawn, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, like, you wrote a great book.
Yeah, I wrote a great book, and I didn't have a lot of attention, but I had some credentials, and that allowed me to get some attention. So I think it's just backing up what you said. You got to get the attention at some point.
And that's how Shawn didn't have the attention of, tens of thousands of people on an email list, but I had the attention of people. He sent me a copy of his book out of the blue and said, "Hey man, I'd like you to check out my book. I'm a clinical psychologist. This is why I wrote it." I picked it up, read 10 pages, and I kept going and until I put it down. And then I contacted him. I said, "Hey dude, let's get together and talk." So that's another way to do it, right? Because he's got the credentials too. But if you don't have the credentials, if you're a young guy and you haven't really put that dent in the universe, you don't have like a proven track record of success, you want to build an audience for sure.
Gosh, yeah. One last thing on this same point here.
Real quick.
In terms of like general fundamentals of business, is it a wise, probably going to do this anyway, but is it a wise thing to forego getting savings from a 9 to 5 like relentlessly before you start trying to build assets? Or is it working?
I'm not a big fan of working for anybody 9 to 5 for any long period of time.
Yeah. It's like working so hard. It's like crazy in your wrist, man.
Yeah, like five years max.
Somebody else's work.
Yeah, 5 years max. Get in the workforce. Get into corporations, whatever area or field that interests you, and look for opportunities in that. And then I would go and find a way to build a business, create information, sell it to them, find some kind of service to solve a problem that people are suffering in that space. If you're attentive while you're doing there and you just don't go in and punch a clock and punch out and leave at the end of the day and go home and get high and play your video games, if you're attentive to what you're doing there's lots of problems. There's lots of low-hanging fruit everywhere. That's how I created my first debt business, right? I worked in a collection agency. I saw the problems, within that, how there was literally millions of people with tons of debt that they weren't paying off, and like a very, very low success rate with the agency. It's like, okay, well, how do you make those two things kind of work better? And I found a way to kind of marry them up and create a business out of it. So if you're going to go work for somebody, make sure there's a good ROI, not that you're just going there to make your $2,000 a month to pay rent, because what's the point in that? Cool?
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in.
Good stuff, man. Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Nice.
All right, real quick, we've got a super chat here. What is your opinion of nootropics? Are you familiar with nootropics, Shawn?
No, help me out.
Nootropics, one of the most common ones are, Modafinil's the one. I can't remember what the other prescriptive name is for it. But it's basically a focus drug. Tim Ferriss talks about it in some of his books. I think he used it when he was writing The 4-Hour Chef. It's used in the Olympics. It's funny because the prescription's actually for narcolepsy, so people that fall asleep. So all of a sudden, a lot of these Olympic runners would develop narcolepsy, and their doctors would prescribe these nootropics to them to help them focus on what it is that they're doing. They work. They're very powerful. I've used modafinil before. I use it sometimes when I'm writing if I really want to get to like a deep like groove and what it is that I'm putting out. The problem with it though is if you get distracted easily, you know, notifications on your phone or video games, all it'll help you do is it'll get you really focused on your distraction. So you have to have the willpower to stay focused on the work that you're doing. So that's my take on those anyway. You have to be very careful with them.
Yeah, I think maybe the reason I don't know much about them is because I tend to have a foot in the medical world. And when I'm talking to people about medications, it's usually medications that have been approved by the FDA and so forth. And so the things that are outside of that tend to be, I just don't have a lot of knowledge about them.
Yeah. Okay, guys, call-in lines are open. We got some people in queue, 323-642-1618. Think about your question when you go live. You want to be able to present it in a distilled form. You know, you got the attention, Shawn and I, probably 5-10 minutes tops. Let's see if we can be useful to you. Let's go to 346. You're coming on the air. 346 exchange 346. What's up?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, fire away, man. You have a question?
Oh, great. Yeah. Hey, so I found you about a month ago after breaking up with a girlfriend, kind of binge watched some of your videos, and I think I've kind of fallen into a bad pattern here. I just wanted to get some opinions on it. So I have a habit of my friends call them project girlfriends. You know, like, I mean, you just assume you get catfish when you go on online dates and that sort of stuff. I traveled for work for years, and you know, I had flings when I was out, but when I'd come back, I'd rely on online dating. But basically, I would go out with girls that, as long as I saw that they had some sort of discipline, even if they were, you know, kind of heavier head, you know, head issues, I would treat them as fixer-uppers and put like a year into them, and then just realize it's going nowhere and dump them. But my thought process was always, you know, hey, if you know, if I saw some pictures, you used to be good looking, you have something in your life where you're obviously, you have some form of discipline, you're not a complete train wreck, you know, like if I help them get back on track, then like they'll be really into me, you know, and that was kind of always my, you know, like they'll be super loyal, right? It was kind of the thought process. And
how did that work out for you?
Hasn't exactly been panning out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the most part, I've actually broke most of them off because, you know, they're actually just not making any progress in their own life, and I just feel like they're sapping all my energy for self-improvement, you know? So
okay, that's
kind of, so I've at least dodged the bullet and not committed to any that, you know, aren't showing any reciprocity. But
well, it sounds like you're playing Captain Save a Woman. You know, you've heard that phrase before, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to water it down a little bit. So you're playing Captain Save a Woman, right? Why do you think you do that?
Yep. Well, part of it is, I mean, I'm a decent looking guy, but I'm only 5'8". My family's short. I always try to get girls that are my height or a little taller. Like I want kids that are taller. I don't know. I just probably a little bit of, you know, I don't know, short man syndrome growing up, you know.
Well, so, 5'8's not particularly short.
I always have to have like, what's that?
5'8's not particularly short. I mean, 5'5", 5'4" for a dude is short. 5'8's kind of like it's not what most women are looking for if they're vetting online on dating sites, because they always seem to go for 6 foot plus. But you're trying to compensate for what you think is a discrepancy in your height by doing things to, you know, this is called short play, basically, is what it is, right? What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to compensate. You're trying to bring something to the relationship because you don't think that you're bringing something that is of value unless you're serving these women. So why are you doing that?
Trying to create loyalty, I think, is the biggest part, you know, because I have a feeling that I'm just going to get dumped anyway.
Yeah. So we're kind of going in circles there because we're all saying the same thing, that you're doing this to compensate and to create loyalty and so forth. So are you still doing it? And what's your plan with this strategy?
Oh, I think I'm done after this last one. So, but I'm just kind of a little listless, but it's like instinct at this point, you know, like I when I go out, I don't go for girls that already have some stuff going for them. I go for girls that, you know, like, hey, she used to be hot. She's down in the dumps. Let's fix her up. And then, you know, so I'm pretty sure I'm done with it, but I'm just not really sure what.
Is the question, what do you replace that with? Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah.
This is a good one, man, because I heard this one the other day. It's like the equivalent of buying a car, fixing it up, not driving it, keeping it in your garage nice and clean and tidy so that the next guy that buys it will be able to have all the fun with it, right? It's like not driving your car. How the hell did he put it? He put it something like, it's like not banging your girlfriend so you can keep her tight for the next guy, right? That's basically what you're talking about, you know, with these fixer-uppers. It's almost like you want to improve them and then send them back out on the dating market. And it's like, you're surprised that they're leaving you, that they're not loyal. Like, women are not loyal, you know, to begin with. They're only as loyal as their options, really, is what it boils down to at the end of the day. And that's not a disparaging statement. It's just an observation based on facts that I've seen.
Well, so what's your plan on what you're going to replace this old strategy with?
Well, I said I'm kind of a month into the whole, you know, changing how I view the world. You know, like I said, I just found you guys a month ago. I just got the Rational Mail. I'm about halfway through it, maybe a third. You know, so I'm kind of, I'm not exactly sure what I need to change exactly yet. You know, like I have some ideas, obviously. You know, and like, I mean, I've definitely caught on to some of the general trends. You know, as far as it's not what you've done in the past, and girls don't want to go through something with you, you know, because I had the idea, you know, like, it wasn't just fixing them up. I was like, okay, I mean, if I got in much better shape, because I'm in decent shape, you know, obviously much better shape than with girls than when I was, but I had a feeling like if you go through something together, that there's like that bond that men have, you know, like, 'cause I was ex-military. I think that's another thing. Like, my closest friends are military buddies, and I may have only known them for 4 years, but we went through something. I had this idea that if we experience something, right, like we change something in our life together.
Yeah, that's not how it works,
right?
with women, though. I mean, have you followed me on social? You've probably heard me say women don't care about your struggle. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
and it's also, that's a very male way of thinking about relationships, because that's how guys work. You join the military, you do things with other guys, you're bonded with those guys for life. Males and females, you just operate a little differently in that sphere. So maybe there's a third option here. Like, maybe you can hang back for a bit, and maybe you don't have to do anything with women. Maybe you can just kind of soak up some information, get yourself in order a little more, just observe for a while. What do you think about that option?
Yeah.
I like that option. I think that's a great option.
Kind of what I've been doing. I've been, like I said, in my spare time, you know, reading the Rational Mail. I got a dog. We like to go paddleboard in one of the lakes here. We've got a little attention from the ladies out there, but you know, I haven't really moved on anything. But
and
yeah, like,
and
you know,
caller, don't let 5'8" bug
summer.
you. Don't let 5'8" bug you, because there's lots of gorgeous, like 5'2", 5'3" women that are like way too short for 6 foot tall guys. Like, they're way too small, and they're ideal for a guy your height. And you discounting yourself based on a couple of numbers aligning to 5'8", thinking you've got to do a lot of chore play to win them over and fix them up, and then, you know, put them back out there better than, you know, what they were when you met them. You ever heard of the concept of relationship equity? No.
In what way?
Okay, so let me explain it. So a lot of guys think that, you know, like, I'll give you a really good example. I had a coaching call last week. This guy, you know, he wifed up this woman that he loved to bits, did the chore play. She wanted the $50,000 bathroom renovation. He did it. She wanted the $20,000 crystal chandelier. He puts it up himself. She wants this. It's like, yes, yes, yes. He just keeps stamping everything. Yes, yes, yes. You know, whatever you want, honey. And he figured at some point, doing all those things, he was going to build up enough relationship equity in the relationship that there was going to be withdrawals that he could make from it, but he never got them.
Gotcha.
There is no relationship equity with women. Like, you don't build it up. It's not like a depository system. Like, you go and work and you save some money, you put it in the bank and you make a withdrawal when you feel like you need it. It just doesn't work that way. So you got to get that concept out of your head and just understand that, like, women aren't good or bad. They're just women. It's just they operate a lot differently than what we've been programmed to believe that they operate. How old are you?
40 actually.
40. And have you ever been married?
But nope. I like I said, I traveled for work. I started up a couple of businesses. I was military, and I did commercial diving too. So I mean,
okay, so
wherever there was jobs,
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Take Shawn's advice. Go into monk mode for a bit. I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe it's 6 months, whatever that might look like for you. If you like, what you need to do is update your beliefs. You need to update your understanding of the dynamics between what works between men and women. Rational Male book series is a great place to start. I always recommend the first 2 books at least 3 or 4 times to most guys. Shawn's Tactical Guide to Women. Those are
No More Mr. Nice Guy.
No More Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah. No More Mr. Nice Guy is another great book. I got that on my shelf over here. We actually did an episode with Robert Glover. We'll probably bring him on again. That's his book. You can grab that off Amazon, and there's an Audible version as well. That's a great book. So add that to your reading list. You got 6 months to dive into that, update your beliefs. If you want to call in again in the future, you got questions you want to vet on, but work on yourself, man. Like, stop trying to save women and work on making you your own mental point of origin. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right, man.
Hey, and real quick before I go, if I could give you guys a compliment. And so when I started digging into this and I started mentioning this to a lot of my friends, I'm getting a lot of pushback. What that means is, like, when they hear, the red pill, blue pill, that means that the outside world is aware and they're like trying to build up a defense. So obviously, like, even my friends that are completely outside of this sphere have at least heard of you guys, or this movement. So it's definitely everybody knows on some level, which kind of surprised me when I start bringing stuff up to people. So just so you know, you're making a dent in the universe. So
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
All right. Let me just quickly check the chat to make sure I'm not missing any super chats here. Okay, we got one here from Zuka. I can't pronounce it. Anyway, he says, any suggested framework to vet a wife and kids? Thanks. That's,
I don't understand that question. He's vetting.
I think he's asking, how do you vet for a woman for, like, wife stock, I think. And that's really what your book's about with Tactical Guide. That's a framework right there. Read that book. Right?
Yeah. I'll sum it up in a sentence. Have high standards and take a long time to get to know her.
There you go. Have high standards and take a long time to get to know her. Beautiful. All right, let's go back to the lines. They're open, 323-642-1618. I'm going to go to exchange 470. Make sure you got your audio turned down in the background if you're listening to this on a broadcast. All right, 470, you're on.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello? Okay, excellent. Hey, so here's my issue that I feel like I'm 32 years old, and I am a real estate investor. I started when I was 26. And I own a couple apartment buildings now. I have a good residual income. I've basically done everything not everything, but I've done a lot of things that we talk about, or you guys talk about on the show, of striving towards, and I'm in pretty good shape. And right now, my problem is I am wondering, when do I get around to start living? So once you do reach a certain level of achievement, and maybe you're in really good shape and have good income, I'm doing spec home building as well. And when do you start to kind of let go and maybe travel or do some of those other things? Because right now, my problem is I have no interest to do any of those things. I just want to continue to work like 75 hours a week.
Okay. And what's wrong with that? Like, why are you asking why? Well, like, when do I start living if you really enjoy working?
Going to wake up. Sorry, what was that?
So my question is, why is your question, when do I start living if you really enjoy working?
Well, so my fear, it's a fear-based thing. My fear is to wake up and be in my 40s, not have a wife, not have any kids, which I don't care to have right now, but to look back and go, well, I should have made some time for that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I wake up and I'm 50 and I haven't done any traveling, nothing like that.
Okay. So you want to travel is what I'm hearing.
I just want to continue like running in the hamster wheel almost.
Okay, but what I'm hearing you say is that you want to travel. So why don't you just carve out time in your year, like just block off 2 weeks in this month and like a week here, and then book the trips. Like I booked a trip for next
I probably
June.
worded that poorly.
Well, just
I probably worded that poorly, Rich. I don't.
Okay, but just
I
hear
don't
me out
care
for a
to do any of
second.
those things, but
Okay, but
my
just hear me
fear
out
is
for a
waking up
second. I'm
and
just
not
going to use
having
my own
done it.
example. I'm just going to use my own example here. So, I mean, like you're talking about living. So, like for me, like I really like to do adventures. I'm not that concerned with like shit. Like I don't give a crap about a 10,000 square foot house or whatever with slate tiles. Like, it's interesting to look at, and the car collection was fun to check out. But my thing is about experiences. So I saw about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine booked a trip to this mastermind adventure, which is in Greenland next June. June's like a year off. Okay. I actually booked it about 12 months in advance. $10,000 event. I paid off in full, booked the trip. I already know that I'm going. It's blocked off for those days. And I know that in June, that's where I'm going to be at that time. I've always wanted to see like a 24-hour sun, with no sunset, check out the entire environment, do the kayaking with the icebergs and all that kind of shit. So I know that that's there. It's carved out of my schedule. Up until that point, I'll be working my ass off. I'll be doing things that charge me up. I'll get out of bed. I'll leap out of bed every morning, and I'll do what I'm passionate about. So my take on it is, if you don't want to miss out on life, then you have to make time for it, dude. Like if you know that you love your real estate investing and it's a big passion of yours, and you want to, make bank, you want to build the nest egg. If wife and kids is something that you want to do later on down the road, cool. But you have to carve out time for you to see the world, to experience things. And I'm going to shut up and pass it off to Shawn, because I know he's got some thoughts on seeing the world too. So go ahead.
Yeah, I like seeing the world. The world's fun. The world's interesting. But I like this question because this is a question about values. And what I'm hearing in your questions, it sounds like you feel like your values are a little bit out of balance. So how important is it for you to have kids someday?
I don't know right now. I don't know how important it is. My fear is waking up and realizing that it is very important and going, man, I just had my head down this entire time. And, I have an incredible income and house or whatever, and I can travel at this point, but I have a lot harder time going back. I don't want to be a dad at 50 years old.
You said you're 32. You got all kinds of times. You know that your sexual market value hasn't even peaked yet. You got another decade to go. You don't have to figure this out today. Do you feel like you got to figure it out today so you don't have these regrets later?
No, I wanted to ask this as a question, I guess, because it's something that I know is going to be a question in my future, possibly if I continue this road. So I'm looking a fair amount down the road. I realize I do have time, but I'm just wondering at some point, do you force yourself to do some of these more? Because I kind of look at these things like kind of normie type activities, to go travel and hike and all that stuff. And these are things I don't care to do, but I wonder, will I regret not doing them someday? It's almost like the opposite of let's say somebody, all they want to do is experiences in their life. I mean, I don't care about making a big income. And then they get to like 50 and they go, man, I wish I would have put my head wish I'd put my head down and worked really hard. So my dilemma is almost the exact opposite of that, where I'm wondering, man, should I make some time for these things now so I don't wake up and have no experiences on life down the road?
Right. Gotcha. So I think that Rich has got some good advice, that one way to figure out what your values are is to try stuff. And you're at an age where you should be trying stuff. So you enjoy work, so keep doing work. But I think it's probably, it's an interesting thought and a good thought to actually carve out some time to force yourself to, I don't know, plunk yourself down in the middle of China and see maybe not China. There's some travel restrictions right now, but plunk yourself down in the middle of someplace and just see if you can sink or swim, try, get some adventures, because you don't sound like somebody who really wants to get on a Greyhound and tour the country. You sound like somebody, if you're going to travel, you're going to want to do something interesting and outside the norm. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would think so. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't really have a desire to do these things. So that was my question. Should I force myself to try things?
Do you ever travel for work?
I have really no interest in doing them. I just want to continue working.
Do you ever travel for work? Do you got to go to conferences? Do you have lenders or bankers or anybody that you need to meet around the country?
Just in my state.
Okay.
So no.
I mean, the world's a big place, and there's interesting people out there, and cultures and dynamics between them, and how they all work. And you want to have a good scope of the way that the universe works. And when I say universe, I'm talking about planet Earth, right? I mean, like, you want to get a scope of the way that sapiens operate, because our species is all over the damn planet, and we're invasive with it. There's like all kinds of stuff, behind the story of Sapiens. It's a great book if you haven't ever read it, but just you're obviously feeling like you're missing something, but at the same time you're also going, but I really like what I'm doing, and I want to make bank, and I want to put a dent in the universe, and I really like doing this. But that's cool too, right? I mean, if you enjoy that, do that, but ask yourself this question. I lose track of time when, and then fill in the blank. Like, I lose track of time when I'm hanging out with awesome people. Like, I lose track of time when I'm driving fast cars. I lose track of time doing interesting things with awesome people. That's what I like to do. So whatever that looks like for you, I don't know what that is, but spend some time outside of your real estate.
Making deals.
Sorry?
Making deals. I lose track of time when I'm doing business. I love it.
Okay.
Every aspect of it.
That's
my problem. I don't have.
There's got to be something outside of that, outside of the business.
All the time.
Yeah, but I mean, there's got to be something outside of that business that you lose track of time on. Like, when you were 10, 11, 12 years old, what did you like to do?
I did a lot of hunting with my dad. Played guitar.
Do you still hunt?
Play guitar, but that doesn't really involve any of those other things.
Do you still hunt? You ever go on a hunting trip? You ever go up to Alaska, go up to Alberta and shoot a cat or anything like that?
Nope. And so that's probably the first one that pops into my head that I could get.
Boom. So find a hunting outfit in Alberta with a guide and book off 2 weeks with a couple of your mates and just go out and go hunting. Somebody put in the chat over here, go to Eastern Europe just to see the women. Right.
So I got a question for you, caller. I guess I got a thought. You're concerned that you're gonna wake up one day and you're gonna have these regrets, and I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. Another way to look at this is that you may wake up one day and you may be boring and vulnerable. Boring because you've never done anything particularly interesting, and vulnerable because you've only done one thing. You really need to have a pretty full toolbox. And so I don't know what Rich is talking about with shooting cats. When you shoot house cats, or what do you do up there?
Cougars. They just call them cats up in Alberta.
Okay, so they're not like little kittens that are running around, and you
no, they're big ass mountain lions that'll do some damage if you're not careful.
You can't shoot them here; that'd be illegal. But you got enough of them up there that you need to get rid of some, or what?
Apparently, yeah, they have guides.
Okay,
hunting guides that'll do cats, right? Yeah.
All right. So see here, Rich is an interesting guy. He knows about these things. And if you're going to be interesting and you're going to be as invulnerable as you can be, you probably want to start piling up some experiences outside of your work. And maybe there's some ways to take your work outside of the border so that you're having to deal with people from other cultures and so forth. And you're having to learn that way. But yeah, I think you're asking a good question. And I would follow up on it if I was you.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. And, so much of my life started with austerity. In my 20s, it was like I didn't allow myself to do anything. I cut my own hair. I didn't spend any money, and now I have a good income and I have a lot of different business activities I'm doing. And I'm wondering, when do I cut loose? And I guess I think it's good advice. I should make myself do those things and find out what else can possibly stimulate me other than what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's 52 weeks in the year. Carve out at least 3 of those weeks. 3 is a very small percentage of the entire year. Carve out 3 weeks to go and explore and do something, because before you know it, you're going to be an older guy and your joints won't be as good as they are when you're 32, and you're not going to be able to do shit that you could have done at 32 that you missed out an opportunity on. That's what I would be cautious to, because you got lots of runway if it comes to wife and kids. You don't have to worry about that for a number of years, but get out there and do things that allow you to feel fulfilled, to feel like you've done more than just build, bricks and mortar and lights and electricity wires and stuff, right?
And here's a beautiful thing. If you go out and you try some different things and you decide that that's not for me, I want to go back to just building apartment buildings, you can always go back, and all you've lost is a little bit of time and money. You got some experience under your belt.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in tonight.
This is great advice. I do have to get going. I appreciate the call, guys.
Thank you. Take care, man. All right, let's do. Speaking of which, we got Paul on, and Paul, you want to unmute yourself? I hit the mute button when you joined in. So Paul and I met up in Detroit last week when I was on the rally, and there was a meet at Lamborghini Bugatti Detroit. We hooked up over there. We're just shooting the shit. Sorry, Dylan, just gonna mute you for a sec. You got your audio on yet, Paul? Just trying to figure it out. There it is. There you go. So Yeah, like meeting up with interesting people. Like Paul's a guy in my men's community. He's been there for a while. He's always contributing good stuff. He puts out good YouTube content himself. And I just said, look, guys, these are the cities that I'm going to be in. If anybody wants to connect, these are the dates and times it'll be at. And Paul and I, linked up, right? So these are the things that I think men should do, is connect with other men from around the world that are like-minded, that have genuine interest in building friendship and relationships. Paul, what's shaking, brother?
Not much. Just made it on, so that's good. Just had a couple gym appointments and an evening appointment, so I'm glad I'm able to make it on. So just wanted to ask a quick question. I love the show, so contribute when I can, when I'm in town, by asking good questions. So I want to get Shawn's take on serial monogamy. Women, as far as vetting out red flags. So I see women who are serial monogamists and who don't spend time, being single, essentially, that just go from relationship to relationship. I see that as problematic, and I'm kind of developing some of my own ideas on that, but I want to get Shawn's take from a psychologist perspective. What you think what do you think the root of that is, and do you think it's a red flag, and in what way? How is that going to be a potential problem, do you think? Anyway, I have reasons I think, but I want to get your take on it.
If I had to guess at a common reason for people keeping themselves consistently in relationships and doing the serial monogamy thing and never taking any time alone, it would be, I would guess that one of the most common reasons is some kind of social anxiety, because one of the things you don't have to do when you're in a relationship is you don't have to confront all the things that a person has to confront when they're by themselves. You have this other person, and if you're a good serial monogamist, you can be very skilled at picking the person that's going to be really good at parties. So then you never have to go to a party and try to exert yourself and try to work the room or whatever, or even just try to have conversations. You can just hide behind somebody. So that'd be my first guess. Some flavor of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good, especially for a lot of the introverted types or real submissive types that I've run into, that they always want some man around to kind of lead them around. But I was also thinking too, in terms of women with anxious attachment issues. So women who went through some sort of disappointment. They didn't get the oxytocin hits when they were a kid from parents. Maybe divorce happened, or abuse, or caretaker left, and you see young girls who they oftentimes gravitate towards guys, have sexual activity really early when they have problems growing up, right? Like with their parents, divorces or that, and then they just sort of continue. Now, I mean, in theory, women generally don't take a sex break. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, she has sex when she's 15, and then that's with her boyfriend, and then they break up, and then she hooks up with a guy at a party. It's not like guys, like they just kind of, their history, it looks like a straight line diagram, until they finally settle in with somebody. But ones with attachment problems, though, I mean, it seems like they're after that that oxytocin, or that chemical cocktail. And so they get it from one person, and then they love bomb them. They get all this stuff. Then the honeymoon phase runs out. They see the person for faults. It brings up a bunch of anxiety, attachment anxiety, so they start to fear abandonment, fear the relationship's going to end. And so they crash it into the wall. They create toxic scenarios, and, they end up ending that relationship somehow, usually through cheating or monkey branching. And then the cycle continues. They just take all of those feelings, ball it up, and then they put it into the next guy.
All right, Paul. So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I got a statement and a question. So if we look at just epidemiology, I'm not going to throw numbers out because I'm going to get them wrong and somebody's going to jump on Google and yell at me. But
right.
Top of the list would be anxiety, really common, right? So that might be the first motivation. And then somewhere down below that would be attachment disorders, because that's a smaller percentage of epidemiology in the population. And then somewhere around that or below that would be personality disorders. And then probably jump back up to the top of the list, probably up near the top would be just a lot of women who like to be in relationships, and they've been socialized or whatever, they believe that's what they should be doing. And so they're more comfortable when they're in relationships, but it's not that they can't function on their own. So that being my statement, my question for you is, if you are down toward the bottom of that list in the small numbers where there's attachment disorders and personality disorders. Is that what you're saying? That you've got a slew of women that are not in the majority there?
Well, okay. So on a personal level, yeah, I've had my own. I mean, we'll say I do very well when it comes to plate spinning and pickup. But when I have picked LTRs in the past, I've gravitated towards those who were really good at the love bombing and stuff. And I started looking backwards in my history going, you know what? These women were serial monogamists and had high anxiety. And so they were always anxious and afraid that I would leave them. And that always created a problem and toxicity later.
All right. So then what is it in you that's attracting them? And what is it in you that makes you vulnerable to the love bombing? And how do we fix that?
Well, I mean, that's, of course, I'm going to get on my white knighting horse and Captain Save-A-Ho all these women out there, right? That's what it is. And so,
yeah.
and I work with, I have a military background, and this tends to happen with a lot of us guys who are in the military too. We put ourselves out there, we put ourselves in harm's way, put ourselves at risk for others. And then we have a tendency to want to do that in our relationships without really realizing it.
Right. So you're a real duty driven guy, but this is and that's something that serves you well in one context, but this is a context where being duty driven does not serve you very well.
Right, exactly. And so even when I'm working with soldiers and their issues and soldier care, this is a common theme. You know what I mean? We're finding these anxious attachment disorder women that, they're excited to be with a high alpha type guy and they're bombing the shit out of them with love. But, what ends up happening is, it falls apart. Like I'm a flawed person, right? So, but I'm a fantasy to her for the first 6 months to a year, maybe. And then, then after a while, my flaws and normal stuff, because I'm a human being, start to come out. She recognizes those. And then and what follows then is an immediate anxiety. Oh crap, he's not perfect like I thought he was. He could abandon me. He could leave. This could break up. And so then it's all this anxious behavior to try to control the relationship and basically setting themselves up for failure. And then they immediately resent too. So not just in my circumstances, but in other soldier circumstances, the women will immediately resent the guy because they have resentments from caretakers that abandoned them. So that all of those feelings of resentment just show up. You know what I mean? When they think that this relationship could end, this guy could leave me, and so and there's they get a lot of dread. I mean, generally women I'm with have dread anyway, but I mean, it's to an unhealthy level when it gets to that point.
Right. So I'm gonna throw out a suggestion for guys that are listening, because what you just described is a pattern that there's got to be a million guys out there that know exactly what you're talking about. So I'll throw out the suggestion that one of the things to avoid is being idealized. And you're being idealized when the person refuses to see your faults, when they're out there on display for everybody else can see them. Like everybody else sees that Paul, he's kind of messing up today, but she doesn't see it. Like she's defending you with her life practically. So that's something to avoid. That's my suggestion. What would be your suggestion for what guys like you, conscientious, dutiful guys, should avoid when at the beginning of relationships?
Well, I mean, look at not to be afraid to ask questions too about history, have those discussions. It's not like you're wanting to know her notch count, but just knowing what her patterns are should indicate, where she's going to be at with you. And if she has dysfunctional patterns like cheating or mate switching and stuff like that, but I create an environment with women though, where they tell me everything. Like women tell me things they probably shouldn't tell me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because you're a conscientious guy and you create this environment where it's okay for them to just open up.
Exactly. And so that's, first of all, I recommend that. I mean, that's probably pretty healthy. And so when they feel safe to open up, that's good, but then pay attention to what they're telling you. If they have
wait, slow down. You're saying listen to the data. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Right
exactly. And that's what I'm in a position now where I'm doing great. I mean, I have people I'm seeing, and let's just say I don't need to be in an LTR anytime soon. But and I've been in that position before, but it's even more powerful now, than it was before, because I have a lot more insight now. But I am looking backwards. Eventually, I may get into an LTR again. So I'm looking backwards at what data points I missed and what data points guys I've worked with, friends, people that come to me for advice, what they've missed, you know, and so that's why I'm kind of reviewing. And I think
Paul,
really
I like the way you think, man. You need to be talking to other military guys about all the stuff you've learned because you're a genius with this.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
He's
it.
good. He does that right now on YouTube. So follow Paul at the 5%. What is it? The 5%. I can't read the rest of it.
That's okay. It's the 5% understanding sexual dynamics.
There you go. So he's got a YouTube channel. Follow stuff over there. He's actually we talked for a few hours down in Detroit. He's really good. So it's a very good question to pose. Just to add to it, just kind of as a listener on this one, I'd look for as far as red flags go, trying to avoid train wrecks, is can she be alone? You know what I'm saying? Because if she's going from dude to dude to dude to dude to dude to dude, it's like there's this constant sequence of like man after man. There's like the bad side of things where a woman will intentionally be alone for like 8 years. She just won't date. She won't be around men. Like that's one side of the equation. It's like one side of the ballpark. And then the other side of the ballpark is she's just swinging from one dude to the other, sort of thing like that. So I think there's a healthy medium where, because there's a lot of toxic relationships out there. And I think men and women need to take some time to themselves, try to figure out what baggage they're bringing along the way with them. Not a lot of, guys seem to be more prone to want to do the work from my experience, but can she be alone for a period of time is what I'm saying, basically.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Paul, I got one last question. You were on the rally. What were you driving?
No, he wasn't on the rally. He actually met me.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I was just coming to visit. Yeah. I'm in Michigan.
Okay. So you were driving a Prius or whatever.
Prius.
I think he's a Jeep driver, aren't you?
No.
I'm sorry, man. I shouldn't have said Prius. That was insulting. It just came to mind.
Funny. No, it's fine. No, but I was driving an El Camino though, 1972, the weekend before, so that was okay. You know what I mean? But just a Jeep Compass, nothing special. No, I wasn't cool like Rich. I'm waiting. Give me 5 or 10 years, maybe I'll be cool like Rich. But
he does a lot. Yeah, he does a lot of other cooler shit than I do. So let's just leave it at that. I'm going to throw it over here to Dylan. If you want to unmute yourself, you got a question you want to throw to me and Shawn, Dylan?
Yeah, actually. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, loud and clear. Fire away.
Perfect. So first of all, I'm going to stare into my camera so it looks like I'm looking you in the eyes. Thank you both so much, because about 6 months ago, I was very suicidally depressed after about 5 years of major depression. And you guys helped me pull it out. So thank you very much. But my question goes to more in line with the topic at hand today. I'm not sure if it's a before the train wreck, but it feels like it to me. I'm 22. I've been a lifeguard for a while now and going in and out of college and coding boot camps as well. So one thing is I don't think that college is the idea for me. It's not the right choice for me because I'm not work averse or education averse, because I went to a 3.5-month boot camp and worked like 90-hour work weeks all day, just sitting and looking at code and working with algorithms. So I don't think that's my problem. But currently, I have 3 options. I go into software development, I could go into the corporate sector, or get into digital nomadry, which I think would be fun. I really think that the trades are a great idea for a career because it's hard to outsource to other countries. Very, very high demand. There are certain ones based on my development knowledge, software knowledge, that will not be automated within the next 20 years, which is nice to know. And I think that would be a really cool job to work with. And the other one too is going back to college and trying to figure out what I should do with that. But I'm very against going back to college because it just feels like I am paying 20 to 30 grand a semester to be indoctrinated into something that makes no sense. So I've got 3 paths. I'm really not sure where to go. I've got a lot of massive imposter anxiety and paralysis of choice, for lack of a better word. There's lots of doors I could go through. I'm a young man. I know I'm ready to work. I know I have some good skills, and I just have no idea what to do. So am I in a train wreck, or am I on the right path?
Okay, cool. So let me just kind of slow you down here, because you're talking about a lot of really interesting things that I think that we kind of need to break down. imposter syndrome is something that a lot of guys will get. A lot of entrepreneurs get it. It's like, do I deserve this success, right? Like, am I entitled to what it is that I've created? And you'd be surprised at the amount of business owners that I've had this conversation with in private discussion forums, where it's like they run 10, $100 million businesses, and it's like, do I deserve the success? And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, you do. Like, you've done the work, dude. So that will probably always be there to some degree, to some element as you get older. So don't worry about that too much right now. That's totally cool. It's very natural. But I mean, like, you're talking about things like coding, trades, and then what was the third one?
Going back to school, which that feels like a terrible option, but it's going back to school. So
yeah. What do you think, Shawn?
If school feels like a terrible option, you're probably right. I honestly don't know why any young man would go to university these days, unless you have a specific reason to go. Like, if you want to become a CPA, all right, you got to go to an accounting program. But if you don't have a specific reason to go, like, just rule that one out. You can always go back later if you want.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of school, simply because a lot of guys let school get in the way of their education.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was the biggest problem for me. It felt like I wasn't actually pursuing an education that was meaningful to me. So
right. So you're currently working as a lifeguard, like that's what you're using to pay the rent right now, but you're in school and you're thinking about renewing that into something new?
No, so I've actually been out of school for 2 years now. I took a gap year and then did not go back because I got an opportunity to go out to Australia for a little while. I was an IT guy, which was really cool. But yeah, I've been exploring things outside of school until still trying to teach myself and find better institutions of education that I can go to, which is trade school or coding boot camps, or other things like that.
I think a lot of guys that are in the computer space and working with coding have recognized, and I've recognized this too anyway, I'm not an IT guy, but algorithms are really the future. There's a follow-up book to Sapiens, Homo Deus, I think it is. I can't remember the author's name. It's hard to pronounce, but you can look it up. But algorithms are basically the future for anything technology-based. They're going to use algorithms to solve pretty much any problem going forward. In fact, algorithms solve problems better than most humans do today. Like, if you were to take a tenured surgeon that's done 20 years worth of work, and you put him up against 100 patients to diagnose lung cancer, a computer algorithm will be successful 3 times. I think it was something like 3 times better than what the surgeon would be, right? So if you're good with coding, if you're good with computers, if you're good with these sorts of predictions, that's a great space to get into, from my estimation. Trades are good too, but you're always working with your hands. You're always exchanging a block of time for a block of money, right? Doesn't matter if you're a plumber, electrician, whatever it is, you're always going to work for the 1 hour, you're going to get paid for it. Some of them get paid really well. Like, they'll show up and they can solve a problem in 2 minutes and charge $150, right? But it's always
right
for a block of money. So it really depends on what it is you want to build. I mean, if you love computers and you like coding and you like algorithms and stuff like that, that's where I would be going if I was that age.
Do you have any sense of where you want to end up 5-10 years from now?
Well, so 2 things. If I were to go into trades, the eventual goal would be to own a business, own a trade. Because I feel that while it's really rewarding to work with my hands and to, there's a thing for me, I need to feel like it's not necessarily instant gratification, but I need to feel like I am a valuable contributor to society, whether it be fixing someone's electrical work, constructing something for them, or doing something like that, like building a website, for example. But I also realize that as I get older, it's going to be incredibly taxing on my body, and hopefully moving into a managerial or business ownership position in the trades is the ideal.
So
but I
one
was
of the skill
going
sets you need to be developing right now then is business.
Yes. I totally blanked on the other one about this topic, but I have a slightly off-topic question to ask Rich real quick.
Go ahead.
As the God of War beard man, do you have any beard tips? Because currently I've been just growing it out kind of wild, and I was going to trim it up, make it look nice. I was just wondering what you have.
Do you have enough density on the upper part here?
Upper part here?
Yeah, do you have any density there? or does it just not grow there?
Yeah, actually, it's actually growing a lot. I just trimmed this up today, so
Grow it out and then find a nice barber that can trim it up. There's lots of good barber shops up there, but I mean, you're going to look like a hobo for a couple months. So just grow it out.
oh, I was expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just grow it out
Cool.
so that you can give them something to work with. But yeah, that's my beard tip. But as far as the not making a train wreck out of your life with making the wrong choices, I think you're asking the right questions, man. You don't seem like a scholarly kind of guy, and the only reason why you'd need to go back to school to get some kind of trade license so that you can practice in that area. But it's highly regulated. You got a lot of union BS. You got a lot of crap in and around that. You sound more entrepreneurial because when you start talking about things like imposter syndrome, that's very common with a lot of business owners.
Okay.
So my feeling would be like lean into the coding stuff and see what that feels like. But I mean, you got lots of runway, dude. Like you're still young, man.
Yeah, you can try some
Okay.
different stuff. Like the worst thing that happens is you say you become a coder and it doesn't work out for you. All right, you got a skill set and you learn some stuff there related to that skill set that can carry over to other skill sets. So young guys, don't be afraid to try stuff out. Don't be afraid to fail with it. You're going to land on your feet because you're asking good questions.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you both.
All right, man. Thanks for hopping on. I'm just going to mute you. You can hang out there and watch, or you can bounce. This up to you. Just real quick, I got some people asking in the comments if I'm going to come back to the calls. Yes, I'm going to come back to the calls. It's just I always give VIP access to my men's community. So you guys understand how it works. I mean, if you're a dude and you're liking these broadcasts, I always drop the link to join here, and they can ask the questions before I get to the callers. Real quick before we continue on and get back into it. Just want to shout out to the channel sponsor because Scott's the guy that really helps me make this stuff continue on. We've done 27 episodes, and it's really because of the sponsors that allow me to continue to do this because of the adpocalypse that's gone on with YouTube. So if you enjoy what you're watching, you're showering anyways, handmade soap, pheromone infused, give you a little bit of advantage of the sexual marketplace. Dylan was asking about the beard oil stuff. There's now a beard oil product called God of War with yours truly on the face. It's a great product, also pheromone infused as well. Check it out. The link is pinned in the description below. You'll get 10% off if you check out with coupon code Cooper. There's my pitch from the sponsors. Let's get back into it. Ves Karashin. I'm not going to pronounce that right, obviously, but if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Actually, it's Ryan from the group.
All right. Fire away, Ryan.
Hey, so I'm 43, divorced twice. I've been working in the government contracting military field for about 22 years now. I'm kind of getting to a point where I've done all the exciting stuff and done the globetrotting, high pressure stuff. The current position I'm in is much more of a kind of administrative thing. Don't have a whole lot of job satisfaction there, but it is paying me pretty well and just bought a house, yada, yada. So I'm in a good place financially. Don't have a whole lot of job satisfaction. The question I have is where to go from here, because I can keep doing this pretty much indefinitely. I'm good enough at this and I have a decent enough reputation that I can stay employed doing this. But whenever Rich talks about, making a dent in the universe, I don't really feel like I am. I enjoy doing things like mentoring. I really enjoy like taking really hard, complex problems and like sort of breaking my way through them. I enjoy things like the stock market, options trading, stuff like that. How do you make that decision on sort of where to go when you're this far into your life?
When you talk about making a dent in the universe, what does that look like in your mind?
Good question. So like I joined the military mostly to kind of do the sort of save the world, keep the innocent safe from the dangers of the world, and pretty much did the same thing as far as the defense contracting, government contracting thing. And to me, that was a really worthy sort of thing. Keep the bad guys, keep the evil shit, keep the evil stuff at bay from the people who shouldn't be suffering from that. Like that to me was a big impact on the world. I'm not really having that kind of impact anymore. Having been through some counseling, having seen the stuff like you and Rich have done, your book was phenomenal, by the way. Thank you very much for that one.
Oh, thanks, man.
Like that kind of personal impact is also really important to me, but it's not something that I've been able to really have in my life as far as being able to affect that for others.
So your dilemma, it sounds like, is you're a man who wants to have an impact on the lives of others, but you're in a pretty comfortable position where you don't really have an impact on others. Is that it?
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
So what we're talking about here is playing to win versus playing not to lose. And right
Yeah.
now you're living a life where you're playing not to lose.
Yeah.
And feeling like you want to play to win. And that's pretty normal. I mean, a lot of military guys that have like conquered it in some crazy, batshit crazy stuff often move into, the business world and create their own businesses. How old are you again?
43.
Yeah. Single?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you get raked over with the divorces, or are you okay financially?
So I still owe child support for another 2 years on the first one, but on the second one, I came out without a scratch.
2 divorces.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay. And they're still young, or?
The two, let's see, 22, 18, and 16 right now.
Okay. Well, they're pretty much adults. I mean, you've got the ability to maneuver. Really depends on, what you want to do. I mean, you want to keep playing not to lose, or you want to start playing to win, right? It's
definitely want to start playing to win.
So start asking yourself questions about problems that you can solve and what you can charge to solve those problems. That's really what it boils down to is there's problems out there that you've identified. You know that you're competent. You know that you've got the skills to solve them. You definitely want to tackle them. You're ambitious. Go and make a business out of it and go make some money and put your dent in the universe. I mean, it's the easiest way for me to kind of distill it. I know there's a lot more to it and there's a lot more work behind it. But whose fucking permission do you need to go and do this? Like,
cool. Yeah, I guess the biggest question I had would be like to do the counseling and the psychology stuff. That's several years worth of investment in school and so forth and so on. To do the options trading, that's a really high risk kind of thing, and it's not a real dent in the universe kind of thing. So the question is kind of like which way to go, because they're both kind of interesting to me, but I don't know how to pull that trigger.
Well, it really depends on what you want. I mean, if you want to see numbers on a screen in your bank account, then the option is probably the way to go. But if you want to really put a dent in the universe and get letters from guys that have had a horse tranquilizer, ready to pin themselves and end their lives because their wife destroyed them, counseling men is pretty impactful. I mean, personally, I'd love to have conversations with guys like Elon Musk. Like, that guy's really fucked up his life a number of times making bad choices with women. But there's a lot of very successful entrepreneurs out there that aren't willing to take ownership for some of the bad choices they've made on the sexual marketplace with the opposite sex. They just keep plowing forward because they got so much money to burn through and enough people, to help them burn through it, that they somehow managed to do it, right? But that is my goal. Like, that is my dent. Like, that is my big dent in the universe. I know that I have impact with the channel, with my men's community, with the business tiers that I run, throughout the community and stuff like that. But I want to work with high level entrepreneurs that have made some really bad choices that are ready to start doing the work on themselves. I'm having a hard time connecting with them right now, though. I'm looking for ways to do it.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, that was a good conversation.
Yeah, let me lay this on you, Rich. One of my jobs I had a long time ago was I was a contractor with the government. I was working my way through college, and I was good at graphic design, so I finagled my way into this comfy little contracting job with the government. So I met a lot of government employees, and I was very young. I was like early 20s. I was probably early 20s, and I noticed early on that a lot of these government employees, they would say the same thing. They would say, I've got so many years to retirement. Some of them would say it like, that's no big deal. I got this many years to retirement. I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm fine with this. I'm playing not to lose. It's all cool. Others were clearly just running out the clock. And I remember thinking, even as at 22 years old or whatever I was, why would you spend one day of your life trying to run out the clock when there's something else that you should be doing? That's just a pathetic way to go through life, let alone planning out years this way. So to this last caller, I forgot his name, I apologize, Ryan, I think it was. Ryan. Like, if you're in that first group where you can say, okay, I've got 12 years to retirement and you're cool with that, then all right, maybe you continue that path. But if there's something in you that says, man, I've only got so many years left on this planet, if I'm lucky, I'm not going to run out the clock and run my life that way. If there's one little neuron in your brain that's saying that, then that's probably telling you the direction you need to go in. Yeah,
that's the sad reality of social programming that we have, is most people are conditioned, like still to this day, to be an employee. And as a employer myself, employees are incredibly expensive and inefficient versus current options that are on the marketplace. Like, the older I get and the more that I read up on it, the more that I see the need at some point in the future for some, I don't know what it's going to be called, but some form of universal basic income, because there's a lot of people right now that we employ utterly pointlessly that don't need to be employed, that either an algorithm or a computer or some software or something could do it far more efficiently and could.
Yeah, I met a couple of those today.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your point.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's an interesting dynamic, and you know, for these people to go through life, like, I just don't get it. Like when I was downtown Chicago, there was these union workers that were protesting in front of a hotel. There was like 8 or 9 of them or something like that, and they're screaming and banging on drums and all this shit, and they're going on about, you know, their workers' rights, and it's like most of them don't get that they are completely replaceable, right? But they want to play not to lose, right? Like they want to have that safety net, and it's like it's just such a lazy way to go through life, in my opinion. And I'm not saying it, you know, in a disparaging fashion, just because I think that, you know, these people are lazy specifically, but the thinking itself is lazy. Like it's a form of entitlement, and if you feel like you deserve more, go get it. Go get it. Stop, you know, sitting back and banging on drums and waving signs and, you know, taking time off work. Anyway, that's
Exactly. And part of Ryan's problem, just one last point here, is that he's tasted adrenaline and that spoiled him and he wants more of it. So I suspect he's not going to be happy with his government contract for very long.
exactly. All right. Unknown. You want to unmute yourself? I don't have your name on there on that screen if you want to throw a question at us. You got 3, 2, 1. And then I'll take a caller if you're not going to unmute yourself. Okay. We're going to go to caller exchange 788. 788, you're on the air. You have a question?
Yeah. Do you guys ever see hypergamy walking backwards? What I mean is, we got divorced 2 years ago, and my ex-wife left me for a guy that made a lot less money than I do. He actually works for a bed office if some dog crack for a living. And now I've been seeing another woman, and it's kind of the same way. You know, she was seeing some guy and he was abusive to her, and now, you know, she's talking about going.
Your audio is cutting out. Can you say that again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you just go back about 10 seconds and just repeat that?
Okay, so I was saying that, you know, so my ex-wife left me, and now I'm seeing another woman, and it's the same thing with her. She was in an abusive relationship with another guy, and now she's talking about going back to him. You know, and I think what I've seen with these two women is that with my ex-wife, she had a lot of mental health problems, and when I met her, she didn't know anything about how to get help. I'm a clinical social worker, so I was able to go with her and get her to treatment and everything. And I was listening to the conversation really about relationship equity, and I was thinking the same thing, that, you know, I had worked so hard to get her where she needed to be. And my ex-wife, one day she just woke up and said, you know what, I'm leaving you for this other guy. And I think I'm afraid that the same thing is going to happen with this old woman I'm seeing right now. You know, that she's talking about how she was in an abusive relationship, and, you know, I'm putting all this work and effort to her, and like at the end of the day, she's probably going to do the same thing this other woman did.
What do you think, Shawn?
I got a little lost there. So, because your audio was breaking up a bit, but somebody left you for somebody who's a worse fit for her and abusive, and you're worried the next one's going to do the same thing?
Yeah, because the woman that I've seen now is basically doing the same thing my ex-wife did. My ex-wife left me for somebody who makes a lot less money than I do. You know, so like I don't understand how hypergamy worked in that scenario.
All right, so forget about hypergamy for a minute. If she were here, what would she say is the reason that she left you?
She said that it was because when she was with me, she didn't think she was beautiful, and then now she realized that she was, and really not caring, and that's what this other guy offered her.
Okay, so he tickles her emotions and makes her feel good.
Yeah, but I thought I did that.
Okay, and so now this new lady is doing the same thing. There's a pattern here.
Yes, exactly.
So you're giving him the Gina tingles, is what you're saying.
Well,
what is the new one doing that's got you suspicious?
Women, I don't know, because these two are very attractive women, but when like I'm trying to hook up with like a woman that is just like a regular 6 or 7, like I don't have that problem.
So okay, so now we're talking 6s and 7s. Okay, so how old are you?
36.
You're 36, and this is your first marriage. You're dating this woman. She's single. Like, are you guys in a relationship? Like, what's the status?
No, I asked her, if she wanted like the exclusive, and she just kind of told me that she wanted to take things slow and just kind of like
Okay, so
develop a friendship.
so let's go back to that. Okay, but back up. You never say to a woman, "Are we in an exclusive relationship?" She needs to bring it up. Okay, she needs to be the first person that says, "I love you." She needs to be the first person that says, "Hey, where do we stand?" She needs to bring it up. Okay, that's a woman entering your frame. That's a woman that wants to enter your life and be a part of it. When you bring it up, it comes from a place of scarcity, and it's not attractive to women. And that's why she's doing that. Well, I want to take my time, because basically what she's saying is she wants to keep dating other people to let her hypergamy float to the top. Okay. So even though you might make more money than the dude that your wife left you for, the dude that she left you for gives her the Gina tingles, and she doesn't get that from you, right? So that's concept of game itself, right? Like being able to understand what drives desire. There's like arousal cues, and then there's what's the other one? Arousal, and I can't remember the other one. Shawn, help me out here.
I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Oh, you blank on it. Sorry. Okay, so it's all me. But there's attraction cues, sorry, and then there's arousal cues and
availability cues.
No, it's attraction cues, and then it's arousal cues.
All right, I'm not helping you at all. I'm going to let you run with this one for a minute.
Okay, so just run with me on this one. So arousal cues, the ex-wife leaves him for the guy making less money because of the arousal cues. The attraction cues are more of like the beta traits. The arousal cues are more of the alpha traits. So the attraction cues are, well, he's got a stable job, he's reliable, he brings home the bacon, there's food in the fridge, the bills are paid, we don't have debt, blah, blah, blah. The arousal cues are, oh, I want to jump his bones, sort of thing, right? So ideally, like, if you want to have strong attraction from her, if you want her to enter your frame, if you want to have a good relationship with her, you definitely want arousal cues, because when you have attraction cues, all you end up with is turning yourself into like a plow horse. You end up being her little pet, and then her arousal cues diminish and drop off. And then if some guy gives her attention, makes her feel pretty, and I'm using finger quotes for those of you listening to podcasts right now, makes her feel pretty, then that's how you end up in that scenario, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that sound like what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly, because when my ex-wife left, she said that she wanted, she liked the life that he offered her, of doing drugs and not being responsible adults.
Okay, so you can think about it in terms of frame, like Rich is talking about. You can talk about it like Robert Glover says, choose the woman who chooses you. And there's a lot behind that statement if you stop and think about it for a bit.
Yeah, it's a great statement.
Yeah.
Does that help you out a bit?
The women that choose me are not the attractive ones.
Well, make yourself more valuable. What is it that you can do to make yourself more valuable on the sexual marketplace? I mean, if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best version of yourself, where do you put yourself?
Probably like a 6. That's being generous.
Okay. Well, if you're only a 6, then you can't expect to get 8s and 9s, right? Because women only date up.
Okay.
Right. So if you're a 6, you got some work to do. I mean, you got 4 basis points you can improve on yourself. I don't know what those are, but you know what they are. There's something that you can do to become a better version of yourself for sure.
Yes.
All right. Okay, brother. Thanks for calling in. I'll let you go. All right. We're gonna have to wrap up the show because we're coming up on the 90 minutes. Before we do, there's a quick super chat here from Not Sure. He says, "Hey, Rich, can you talk more about imposter syndrome, but in the context of somebody starting as an entrepreneur? I feel it comes out in my sales calls." I kind of hit on it earlier in the show. I don't know if you caught it, but I mean, more in depth for me to build a dedicated video on it. I don't know if this is worthwhile for doing kicking off on a topic on Before the Train Wreck, Shawn. What do you think?
It'd be a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but we could chat about it.
I mean, if you want to talk about it on a one-on-one coaching call, you can always book me. I mean, my links are always in the description of the videos, but it's not a video that I would create as a standalone simply because it just wouldn't get that much in the way of eyeballs. Although it's going to be useful, it's just not going to get a ton of eyeballs. Maybe the best thing to do is to hop in the men's community. It's probably a cheaper way to get get access to the information, because we do monthly hangouts, and then you can ask me direct, in that group hangout, and we kind of shoot the shit. All right. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the show. Are you back next week, Shawn? Are you around on the 22nd?
You bet.
All right, so we're going to be back on the 22nd. That's our 90-minute show for tonight. Apologies to the people we didn't get to on the lines. You might as well just hang up and just drop those for the time being. But if you guys can do me a favor, just hit the like button on the broadcast. We got a bunch of people on this right now and only a handful of likes. It really helps me out a ton if you can let YouTube know that this is good content and it's useful and they should show it to other people. Also, this is available as a podcast now. Usually they get uploaded within about a day or two after this Monday night broadcast wraps up. So just go to your favorite podcast platform, whether it's iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever. You should find us there. And again, smash the like button. Any closing thoughts for tonight's show, Shawn?
Yeah, a lot of guys struggling with values. I like those questions. And young guys don't need to panic about that stuff. You got time to try things out.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing is try things out, right? There's that whole paralysis by analysis, and you spend way too much time thinking about, what it is you're going to go and do, but just go and do shit. It's like, in the absence of clarity, do something. It's one of the greatest lessons that I learned from Philip McKernan. In the absence of clarity, do something. Don't just sit there and mill. Find out what it is that you need to do that will create the clarity for you. It's far better off than sitting around doing nothing. All right, guys. Thanks for watching tonight's broadcast. We'll see you next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you guys later. Peace.